I'm your host, Dorothy Mashburn, and welcome to Salary Negotiations Made Simple. Here I show you how negotiating does not have to be overwhelming. I break the entire process of negotiating into easy-to-learn steps that you can use in any salary negotiation situation, whether you're starting a new job or preparing to ask for a raise. Expect to receive practical, actionable strategies that are based on real-life experiences. I'll be sharing tips that have been proven to work where professionals like you have netted $10,000 to $40,000 more in compensation. It's payment for the skills you bring. So you need to know how to ask for payment for those skills. Are you ready to learn how to boost your earnings? Let's dive in. I am thrilled to have Christy Rutherford as a guest on Salary Negotiations Made Simple today. Christy Rutherford is an advisor to executive leaders and businesses. She's a keynote speaker and author, and she has published 5 number-one best-selling books on Amazon in 8 months. A Harvard Business School Alumna, Christy is also a certified executive leadership coach from Georgetown University and has been featured in Forbes 3 times. Christy is the 13th African American woman to achieve the rank of commander in the U.S. Coast Guard's 225-year history, where her demographic was 0.1%. Christy responded to the needs of the citizens in New Orleans 2 days after Hurricane Katrina and had a 3-year congressional fellowship with Congressman Elijah Cummings at the House of Representatives. Christy's academic portfolio includes an MBA and a pastry chef diploma. Among her many professional accomplishments, her national recognition includes Harvard Business School's 2018 Launching New Ventures Pitch Contest Grandmaster Champion, Cambridge Who's Who among executives and professionals, Career Communications STEM Technology All-Star, and the Edward R. Williams Award for Excellence in Diversity. There are just not enough words to describe Christy's zeal and passion in helping women leaders get to the goals that they're destined for. You are in for a treat today. Let's welcome Christy to the studio. Hi, Christy. Fantastic to have you here on our podcast, Salary Negotiation Made Simple.
Yay, I'm so excited to be here, Dorothy. Thanks for inviting me.
Love your energy, of course, and I've admired you for a long time. May I ask for a quick introduction for our viewers?
Oh, okay. So me, Christy Rutherford, women's leadership expert. I assist women with getting raises, bonuses, and promotions through office politics and self-care, $12.5 million in salary raises in a pandemic. And I like to cook and I can drive a tractor.
Nice. So let's start there. How did you learn to drive a tractor?
I was in high school and I always wanted to work. I always wanted my own money. And I started working with this landscaping company. And it was driving a tractor was a part of it. And so, I learned how to drive a tractor. That's how I learned how to drive a straight drive, because if you let off of the clutch of a tractor too fast, it'll turn over. So, driving, I don't know, they even make straight drives anymore, Dorothy. You remember the cars that you used to have to, you have to let off the clutch. It has to be a balance between the clutch and the gas. And that's the hardest thing to figure out. That's how I learned how to drive that, because if you let off too fast, the tractor would get away from you. So anyway.
Well, I do know because I grew up in India in the jungles and the foothills of the Himalayas. I think we got every reject from every other country in the car department in our little town. So got a lot of practice driving weird standards and all of that. Tell us a little bit, Christy, how did you get to your position today of teaching leadership? Give us a little bit about your journey.
I actually spent 16 and a half years in the U.S. Coast Guard. I was the 13th Black woman to make commander in the Coast Guard's 230-year history. So creating high-performing teams and being a leader is my jam. And while I was I mentored 90 people outside of, my last office. It was up to 90 people. I started mentoring people in 2001. When I got to my last job before I ended up resigning, I was up to 90 people and outside of my office, in addition to the 160 people who work for me. So I was doing way too much. I ended up going to a conference in New York in 2006, and I listened to this lady talk about coaching, and I'm like, oh my God, that's what I do. That's what they call it. Wait, somebody, you get paid for that? Because we call it mentorship. It's for free. So my gift is when I see people, I don't see them for who they are in the moment. I see them how they're operating in their full potential. So when I look at the people on my team and they're only giving me 10%, I'm like, what do I need to do for you to give me 120? Because I like to set national standards. I like to win. So my gift was creating high performing teams, but by basically capitalizing on human potential and getting people to see a greater version of themselves. So after resigning, I resigned prematurely with 3.5 years left to retire with a full pension because I was going to work myself to death. I'm the high achiever, working 80 hours a week, volunteering for all the things, working 80 hours a week, Dorothy, while complaining about the man who's working 35 hours a week. We're getting paid the same amount of money. And so having those conversations being normalized of we're supposed to work 3 times as hard for half the credit. We're supposed to get all the degrees while the men keep getting promoted. It's simply not true. So I ended up burning out. And a lot of times, even today, people are talking about burnout. Burnout is catastrophic. When I finally exploded into 1,000 pieces, because high achieving women, we don't want to slow down. We don't want people to tell us what to do. We don't want to stop and take care of ourselves. We don't have time to work out. We don't have time to eat healthy. We don't. All we have time to do is work to prove people wrong. It took me 3.5 years to put myself back together again. And when I exploded, it took a year for me to be able to create a coherent sentence. It was catastrophic burnout. So part of the work that I do is not just about asking for the salary. It's how do you stop long enough to take care of yourself so we don't have to burn out? We don't have to go on family medical leave. We don't have to resign from our jobs in desperation and start a business that's going to fail because we're desperate and we're crazy. So that's why I'm passionate about what I do. I'm who I needed 10 years ago. I'm exactly who I needed 10 years ago to slap me around a little bit and be like, it's you, it's not them. So that's where we are.
What was the biggest aha moment when you did start doing the coaching side of things? Tell us some of the surprises that you had.
I would say, Dorothy, I think the biggest thing is I thought that I was by myself. And high achieving women do the exact same things. We do the exact same things. We're typically by ourselves because we're first generation. We're the first person in our family to come to a different country to be able to work. Or we're first generation where our families are the first people who are born of families that came from different countries have higher expectations on what you will and will not do. Like, we sacrifice to come here, you're going to get to it. I was one of the first people in my family to graduate from college. And so a lot of first generation, I would just say women in general, but when you're the first, the expectations are tremendous before you even get into the workplace. So we have a lot of the same common challenges. High achieving women are high achieving for a reason. Women who are go-getters, alpha women, strong women, we are made strong from the circumstances that we rose out of. We weren't born strong. So you have women and then you have ambitious women. I learned that a lot of us have the exact same challenges when it comes to, we're really working, Dorothy, to prove somebody wrong. You know?
Yeah, 100%.
We're not working to be happy. We're working to prove to somebody that we can make it. And it started long before we even got to work. Could have been in elementary school to prove to your family that you're smart. Or, prove that you can make it through college because everybody secretly wants you to fail, or prove that you can make it in America in corporate with the majority white men, or to prove, right? So, 10, 15 years later, we're wrapped and warped in this twisted reality, and we're not even happy, but now we're super successful. And now it creates a different problem because we can't tell anybody that we're now suffering in the success that we created. We're now suffocating in our success. We have everything that people told us that we couldn't get, but now we're suffering in it and nobody cares.
Yeah. Now that you are a more enlightened
yes.
Individual, how would you define success now?
Paulo Coelho said, what is the meaning of success? Is going to bed each night with my soul at peace. That's one. Earl Nightingale says the definition of success is when a person is doing the work that they basically came here to do. Like you're doing what you're passionate about. So success now is, can I bring my full gifts to the world and be who I am and not pretend to be somebody else, to be liked or to acquiesce the very essence of my being to fit into a box that wasn't designed for me. So success is doing what I love, talking to who I want to talk to, do what I want to do, and be able to make a living doing what I love. And so that's success to me.
Yeah. What do you say to people who are like, well, I'm the primary breadwinner, too much at risk? There is a risk component to kind of free falling, right? Like, or the feeling of free falling.
Well, it's not, the thing about it, Dorothy, is I don't recommend that my clients or anybody quit their job for their passion. That's disaster, right? So, a part of it is the goal is to capture your full value in your job first because they got the money. Stack that money, create a plan to now work yourself out of your job. And a lot of times what we don't know and what we don't realize is being an entrepreneur requires a whole next level skill set, and it requires 120% brain capacity. And I talk to women who are leaving on medical leave and they're like, I'm going to start a business. I'm like, no, because you don't have the brain capacity. And that's what I wish somebody would have told me when I left my career. Crazy. Christy, is not going to work because launching a business requires energy and brain capacity. And if we're already burning out and we're on our wits end, that's what created the catastrophic burnout. So I was already burning out, Dorothy, when I left. But when I tried to build this business on top of it, that created the mental shattering. And once my brain cracked like Humpty Dumpty, the money followed. Then I lost all my money after that. And now I'm psychologically unemployable and incapable of now creating more income because I am mentally incapacitated. And so what I recommend is figure out, what are you passionate about? Because people and organizations will pay you for what you're passionate about. They will pay you. I tell people all the time, I'll go in and take your job. I'll take any job you apply for. I'll be so excited when I walk in the door. I don't know what I'm doing. I'll be like, are you an engineer? No, but I'm excited. I'm a leader. I'm a team player, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to kill it. I'll get on YouTube and I'll watch the videos and I'll figure it out, Jeff. I promise you, I'll figure it out. And if you want to be coached and you need a leader, I'm going to do it. And I'm excited. And then you have somebody who goes in with a master's degree in mechanical engineering. They're like, I'm just here. Yeah, I got a master's degree and I got a bachelor's degree and I got a certification and I got this. You don't have any passion, though. You can train skill. You can't create passion in somebody. So once you get clear on what you're passionate about in these strenuous times, everybody's stressed out and crazy. People want to be around people, women especially, senior women, my gosh, who are passionate and who are happy and who are very secure and aware of who they are and what problem they're to solve. They will swing the doors open for you so fast and pay you whatever you ask for. Done it. We do it all the time.
Yeah. When you come in like that, right, there's a lot of social programming people are still fighting. So you have to be comfortable in your own skin to come in and be your full self, like you, Christy. Like, I don't know what it is, but I'll figure it out. But there is a component of other people see you as a threat. Just when we talk about negotiation strategies, things that work for men don't necessarily work for women because of the double bind. So what is your approach there?
The thing about it, Dorothy, is women have to be willing to look in the mirror and tell the truth of how they're showing up. I have women of all different nationalities and races. I used to be an angry Black woman. You call me an angry Black woman. When I was angry, I would try to stab you, right? I would stab you and like set you on fire, like throw a fireball at you and just, it was true. Does that make sense? So we can't keep getting mad that people are calling us what we are because we think we're pretending to be something that we're not. I talked to some Indian women who were like, people say, what do they say? That I'm strong-minded and I'm strong-willed and I'm aggressive. I'd be like, that's not a compliment. They'd be like, what? Like, because not all Indian women, but some Indian women in the culture, you're fighting against people who tell you what you can't do. Right? Like, and what the expectations are that you should be doing this. So y'all got to go and you got to go get it. And then you get to the senior levels and people are like, woo, right? Like, oh, you're strong-willed. Like, that's not a compliment. And they're like, really? So we have to be a woman in leadership. We have had conflict long before we even got to work. Work is just a continuation of the story that's been playing for a long time. So when we get to the senior levels, now we're tired. We got more responsibility than we need. You may have a family, and if you have a family, you're neglecting them for your job. If you're single, all you have is your job.
Yes.
So now you have all of this stress and you have all of this pressure along with the brokenness and the story that you're telling yourself. So yeah, and we're like, oh, I thought that they couldn't see. Oh, they see you. They see your exhaustion. They see your resentment for being passed over. They see your hopelessness because you don't even believe that it's going to happen for you. And we're competing against men who are sure, who are confident, who are aware, whether or not they deserve it. They believe it and they did it. Yeah. And we walk in with all the degrees, all the experience, all of the requisite knowledge that's needed. If there are 10 things that are needed on that promotion, we got 25 and we walk in there with all of that and don't believe that we deserve it. And then we don't get it to the man who has one of the 10 who believes that he deserves it. And they put the woman on his team to make sure he doesn't fail. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
So what we need to do is become aware of how are we really showing up? Because the only person that we're tricking is ourselves. The only person that, we're fooling is ourselves to believe that people can't see. And they're like, well, I thought they couldn't see past that. As a leader, you're a leader. We know, Dorothy, whether or not somebody liked us. We know at work, anywhere we go, you can tell whether or not somebody really likes you. And if they're looking at you and they cussing you out in their head, we can tell. So women have this notion in their minds that they're showing up differently and they're showing up pleasing, all the while cussing people out in their heads, thinking that they can't see it. We're leaders, Dorothy. We know. I knew some of the people who worked for me did not like me. That was not a secret. I don't care what they did. That's the truth. And the truth shall set you free.
For sure. Amen. What about our A woman? What about the balance between thinking about, I keep getting passed up, something must be wrong with me, versus what you're saying, do the introspection, how are we really showing up? Where's the line there?
A lot of women that I talk to and that I work with, we have the degrees, we have the awards, and they're not hung up on the wall. They're in a box. We win and we stop celebrating the win because nobody's going to celebrate with us. And so you don't even take credit for it. Like, you go out and you want this big applause for getting an MBA. The man didn't get the MBA, but he got the job.
You got a big plaque out there, right?
Right. And so, but then you don't even celebrate the accomplishments, and you don't connect that the person who has the accomplishment, the name that's on that plaque, is actually you. So I've had a couple of clients, one in particular, I had her hang all her stuff up. She got Lifetime Achievement Awards, and one of them was stabilizing her table. These are Lifetime Achievement Awards in highly accredited national organizations. Does that make sense? And so we had her take I said, take it all out. I don't care. Her wig was falling off and everything. Like, she had 3 walls of stuff hanging up on the wall. She got a $50,000 raise within 30 days. Like that. And all she did, Dorothy, was, oh my God, I can't believe that I accomplished all of this. And once she took ownership and stock of who she already was, when I talk about these raises of $12.5 million, all I'm doing with women is getting them to see who you already are. You don't have to go get a degree. Leave the degrees where they are. What have you done? Who are you? How are you showing up? Let's tell the truth. Now let's fix that. Is your job making you miserable, or are you going to work miserable? Well, you're going to work miserable. Your job is just, it's not the job of why you're miserable. Why are you getting passed over? Because you never asked. Why are you getting passed over? Because you're applying for small jobs when you should be applying for larger jobs. Why are you getting passed over? Because you have it's not even a real term, the imposter syndrome. Because you don't believe you don't belong there. Well, if you don't believe you don't belong there, they don't believe you belong there. On the leadership team, I was an executive leader. I did not like weak people who were unsure of themselves. You can't come and be on my team. And I talk about it. It's unpopular. They ate me up on Instagram when I talked about it. But it's like, at leadership, we're tired too, man or woman. Leadership is tough. Do you hear me? So if I got three guys who were like, oh, Ms. Rutherford, I'm gonna come kill it. I've had everybody who's worked for me. Like, I've had the nationalities. Like, then I got a woman who tired and wore out and crazy and bitter. And I'm gonna look at her and be like this, ain't no way. Give me one of them men all day, because they're refreshed, they're confident, they are sure, even if they lying. I'll figure it out after they fall in a hole, but I've already picked them over the woman who's not sure, she's unaware, she won't take credit for who she is, and she's not that excited to be there. She thinks that I was going to pick her based on her merit. Please. No, never. I'm tired. Like, I want to bring in somebody on my team who's going to be the least fixer-upper.
That's the challenge. There's a really good book called The Confidence Code, which talks about that, actually, that we as women traditionally have defined competence as merit, but you've got to add confidence in there. Otherwise, study after study has shown that if you believe you can do it, that translates, like you're saying, people see it. Maybe not overtly, but they see you can do the job. So your merit is actually your degrees plus your ability to show up the way you're saying.
It's just believing, really, Dorothy, it's just becoming aware of how great you are. We're not allowed to brag on ourselves. We're not allowed to say that we're great. We're not allowed. That started long before we got to work. A lot of these patterns started long ago when girls are to be seen and not heard. You know, we were shushed and we had to play nice and we had to share and we're conditioned to be people pleasers. Mm-hmm. So a lot of that shows up in the workplace, and it only gets magnified the more we start to move up the leadership chain. Yeah.
How are you? So, you said, I wish I had me, or I'm me when I was 10 years ago. Presumably you have clients at that age group or that piece of their journey. Seeing, are they ready to receive your message, or how much work do you have to do before they're ready to receive that message?
People either change through inspiration or desperation. Most women don't change until they're desperate. Most women don't change until it's something that, there's a pain that drives them to move. So we stopped 12 women from dying and having nervous breakdowns. Like, I've pulled women off the cliff. And I have a client that I can't wait to interview. I talk about her all the time. But when we started talking, it was last October. She's 43, senior executive in a tech company, working 16, 18 hours a day. She had 8-month-old twins. I was like, that alone is enough to wipe out, anybody. And so she stopped taking showers. She stopped combing her hair. I was like, anytime a sister stopped combing her hair, I said, you're about to die, right? Like, you're literally going to work yourself to death. She was like, you're right. Come on over here. So it's like, I talked to those women. Or one of my clients got fired 2 weeks before Christmas a couple of years ago. She was pissed. And I said, great. Because she was playing safe and making 3 times less money than she should have been making anyway. So it's like, so we have those situations, or I just have women who be like, you're right. And I know that I deserve better. That's the few and far in between. Those are the women that I would love to have. when they come and they're like, well, I'm not desperate yet, but I want to change. It typically takes for, and a part of it, Dorothy, is it takes high achieving women something catastrophic because we have such a high pain tolerance. Like, we've been through it. We don't feel nothing. We've been criticized. We've been ostracized. We've had our hearts broken. We don't feel anything. And so I always say, if you would have stabbed me in my back, 12 years ago, I'd be like this. Did you just say something? Like, we're walking around numb, just going to get it. So it takes something to like break our reality and stop the record or the tape player that's playing in our head to be like, what just happened? But a lot of times women will follow me they don't initially like me when they start following me though, which is okay. And maybe 6 months later, they be like, you know what? I think she's telling the truth about me. So then they'll call and then, but typically it takes something catastrophic, which is okay.
Yeah. How do you break out of that? Did it take that catastrophic event to, and then what was your journey like? Like how did you become the confident person you are today?
I didn't have the imposter syndrome. I was a military officer, so I was super arrogant. Let's be clear. Arrogant. I walk in a room, like my head could not fit through the door. I had to turn sideways to like come in. So once you burn out completely and then I ran out of money, I moved in with my brother. I'm a grown former Coast Guard, high achieving officer. Everybody knew me. Nobody knew that though, right? They didn't know. I just disappeared. NBA, 13th Black woman, like all these awards. I mean, you would have read my bio, we'd still be talking. When I burned out and lost it all, I had a lot of time to think about the choices and the decisions that I made because I could not literally get up. I slept for a year. Let's see. It was a lot of introspection. I did a lot of personal development, but I had to start to really dig and tell the truth about how I was showing up and how I created that situation. I didn't have to work 80 hours a week. I did that to prove people wrong. I didn't have to get all of those degrees. I did that to prove people wrong. I didn't have to mentor 90 freaking people, outside of my office. In addition to coaching my direct reports 3 hours Monday through Friday. When the workday was done at 5 o'clock, they're amazing now. They're senior leaders to this day, but they will pull their chair in my office and they would sit down and ask me questions for 3 hours. That happened every day. So now we go 5 to 8, mentor my direct reports. And then now I got to work from 8 to 11 to now make up for the time that I just invested in these guys. So I started to look at how a lot of the stuff and the people that I was proving wrong was long before I got to work. A lot of those challenges, I was proving my family wrong for thinking that I was going to fail when I went to college. They'll never admit that now because we're a long time on the other side of it, but I remember. So it's those things, and it's like telling the truth. And then when I started to talk, and I felt lonely in leadership because for women, my peers are like 45-year-old white men. I was 37. I didn't have that many people to reach out to. And I was criticized all the time. I didn't know that criticism was a part of being a great leader. So all these things that were happening, I got caught in this bubble, in this cone, and I didn't have women who looked like me or women who had that killer, that aggressive alpha attitude, who were healthy and whole. Because a lot of women told me to slow down, but they ain't had the results that I wanted. So I was like, yeah, that ain't working for you. So I didn't have people who had that same zest that I admired in a woman leader to be able to slap me around a little bit and be like, you need to stop and look in the mirror. So it took a long time. I mean, it was the dissection of how I created each and every scenario of my life. And James Allen says something in As a Man Thinketh, like he says, through patient practice and introspection, you can see, by examining the cause and effect of even to the most minutest of details. So I started to look at everything. So that's why when I talk to women, I can figure out, basically, if you tell me about your childhood and your past, I can already predict what problems you're having today. And they be like, because it's all there. And once we rewire this, it sets them free, because a lot of the battles that people are fighting, Dorothy, at work, is not about their boss. It's some unhealed stuff from their mom and their dad.
Yeah.
It's not the current situation. They're fighting something in their past.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Who was some of your leaders or thought leaders at that time who helped you through your healing process?
So I actually joined a coffee company, a network marketing company. I had people hollering. Actually, I saw some of those guys in Houston a couple weeks ago. I was like, y'all know I was going to be rich in 2 months selling coffee, right? So it was network marketing people are highly personally developed people. And so I had a coach, Craig Hill and Jared Wilkins, and then I had the afar mentors that I admired, David Emanitier and Bass Grant. And then I met Sharon Lecter, who wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? And then Don Green with the Napoleon Hill Foundation became a huge mentor and supporter. And I'm a huge Napoleon Hill fan, huge. So, me and Don Green friends to this day. And then I met Les Brown in person. And so over time in that 3.5 years, it was day by day. If I can just get out of this hole that I dug for myself, I didn't know how I was going to get out. And even I would say the program manager that I ended up going to Harvard Business School while I was in my brother's house because I was qualified to be there because of my performance from the past. So when I called the program manager, I said, look, I'm in the messy middle. Okay, so I was this rock star who left my career. I'm highly decorated. You can Google me. I was Googleable, right? With stuff I created in the Coast Guard. And I have this vision for what I want to create in the future for women. But right now, it's not tangible, but this is tangible stuff. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, I ended up going to Harvard. And I would say the Harvard piece for me was Harvard Business School on the executive education side. It helped me translate military to corporate because I'm this phenomenal, let's be clear, phenomenal military leader on this side, but I didn't know how to tell the world how great I was. So that's a challenge that a lot of military people have is like I didn't even speak the language. So when I was at Harvard, I'd be like this, that's how y'all say that?
Yeah.
This is change management is a profession because I did. Okay.
I did that. Yeah.
So Harvard, I would say, was huge for me. And I was around 186 rock stars from 46 countries, all phenomenal leaders. And they were like, it's something about you. I like you. And I'm like, well, I can't be a loser here if they all like me and they're from different countries. But what I had that they liked, it took me a while to figure it out. I had that piece that leaders don't have because I burned out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had that ability to say what I wanted to say, and I didn't care what they thought about it, right? And it's all these things that leaders develop along the way, even worldwide, and that also showed me that women around the world, we do the exact same thing. We have the exact same challenges when it comes to the top. So
yeah, I do appreciate what you're saying about we have to prove, in our brains, we're proving someone wrong. And especially, I think, like you said, women from minority or immigrant families, we have a feeling that there's no safety net. So if we fail, then there is no one to catch us. And B, we're proving ourselves to some old childhood narrative over and over again.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It depends on like your background, but I study patterns. So I'm a pattern studier. And I'll be like, women from a different country, a majority country who grew up in a majority country and moved to the US high achieving women I would say 90% of the same challenges, but then that 10% is going to be how you got to be that alpha woman. If you came from India, and women from India got a whole 10% is common. Yeah. We have the Indian women, but the solution is the same, but there's a reason why, you're showing up and you're like, you have a strong personality. Be like, that's not a compliment, girl. Women who, Black women in America, we got a whole thing, but women who grew up in African countries or even Caribbean countries or whatever, then they come here, they have a whole set of challenges, or they just move to a different country, right? So yeah. I'm really catering to women who are just like me. And it's not knocking all women, but we need the most help because we're the ones who are sitting in senior leadership positions, suffering, and nobody asks, nobody cares. And then we feel guilty because we're miserable and we fought to get to where we are and we have it all, but we can't tell anybody. And that is, I think, the worst fate I was suffering in my career. And when I did start telling people, nobody heard me. They heard the brand that I created. They heard Commander Rutherford talking, but Christy was like, I hate my life. And they were like, oh, that's nothing. Let me tell you what happened to me. And I'm like, but did you hear me? Because it took a long time for me to confess.
Yeah. To show this little sliver of weakness, right?
A little bit, right?
Yeah.
To myself first, Dorothy. Like by the time I had to get it to myself, I'm already 90% in the ground. By the time I confess it to somebody else that I need help, I'm almost dead.
Yeah.
And nobody heard me still. And so when I left and resigned, they talked about me. They called me stupid and she's going to fail. So it was a whole hot mess back in the day because I only had 3.5 years left to retire with a full pension. So it's like, I knew that if I didn't leave, I was going to die.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't stop proving people wrong and people wouldn't stop saying I could do something.
Yeah. Stop it. You're triggering me.
Oh, if I get this degree, and if I get this MBA, and if I do this, and then I get this award, they're going to give me my gold star if I get this. And, you know, military people, we wear our resumes on our shirts. So when I walk in the room, people be like, my God. I mean, now I've gone too far. Now I got too many. Now they're mad because they're like, how you get all of that? And I got literally getting questioned verbally on why do I have the awards that I have? And now it's like, you don't deserve it. So that's a whole different, I kind of tripped over into this, it's almost like a clown show. I'm going to work and I'm going to put my head down and I'm going to do all of it to get these things. And then when I got them, the reaction was negative and not accepting. Does that make sense? So then I was like, did I go too far? Because now I can't go backwards. And now I'm like, wait, I've wasted 14, burned through my childbearing years. Didn't go out and do all these things because I'm at home working and studying to get the things, hoping that you would value me. And I lost the ability to be able to value myself. And I put my valuation, which is what women do, we put it in the hands of other people who, one, are not responsible for it, and two, are never going to give it to us. Mm-hmm. And so when I realized that, I had this man accuse me of wearing my uniform to show off my medals. And I was like, what? And when that thought hit me, my head started swirling and I had to sit down and I was like, my God, I've blown through 14 years of lunacy to do all these things. And I would say that was the beginning of the unraveling because now I'm aware of the mistake that I made. And then the self-degradation began of, you wasted your years, you da-da-da-da-da. And then it just spiraled. Toxic boss comes in and then it was like, that's pretty much how that happened. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You're past the hump, but probably when you were right in the middle of it, it was probably a lot of back and forth, right? Like you were confident and not and all of that.
What my goal, Dorothy, is I didn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
I only had a few friends that knew. And the problem is they kept reminding me of who I used to be, but that's not really who I was. That's who I pretended to be. To be accepted by other people. I wasn't really being who I am. Does that make sense? Yeah. Who life and society had conditioned me to be. So even them talking about this person, how great she was, it didn't really hit because I was searching for me, which is the real me, the unapologetic me, the powerful me who doesn't have to adjust my volume when I come into a room. And so my goal in the work that we do is to really get women clear on who they are faster. Let's not take 3 years. It doesn't take 3 years. It takes, maybe 2-3 weeks. And they're like, oh my God. And then week 3, week 4 is when they get to see the truth. And they're like, my God, I can't believe I'm doing that. Great. Let's tell the truth. So it's a streamlined process that took me 3.5 years. Now we can do that in 8 weeks.
Yeah.
It's just a couple of adjustments of perspectives. So you can see how you're showing up, quickly adjust it, and then get on with it.
I know you talk a lot about getting women promoted. Seems like you do that as well as them realizing that this is not the right path.
Yeah, the promotion comes after that. So the money is easy because you're already worth, we took one woman from 210 to 625. She was already worth 625. She just didn't know it because she came from a different country, moved to America. They was harassing her. One of my clients, I would say in particular, was she would chase you down the hallway and cuss you out if you say so to her, right? Super aggressive, super. And she was like, at work, they say that I'm not a leader and they won't put anybody on my team. Yeah, because you cussing everybody out. Right? But what happened was when she was young, we had to figure out the story. When she was 14, her cousin, like in the basement watching movies with his girlfriend, called her ugly. And she didn't stick up for herself. And then something else happened with somebody else and she didn't stick up for herself. So whenever she's chasing you down the hallway at work, it's not them, it's the people, it's her cousin.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So once she was like, oh my God. So that piece became her because now it's like she broke that reaction. And she ended up interviewing for another company. Started at 5, the interview was over at 5:30, and this is a huge organization. And the director of HR, the head of HR, the global head of HR called her at like 9 o'clock at night. Was like, I'm so sorry, but we want you right now. We're supposed to do another 5 interviews, and I know we're supposed to talk to some other people, but they love you so much, we want you right now. Like, what is it going to take to get you on our team? Because she was calm, she was aware of who she was. She wasn't triggered in the room, and she didn't have the story in her mind of they're not going to like me because when you're aggressive by nature, you're going to have some things that you're going to wear that on you, and you're going to be trying to suppress it. And it's like, they can see that. People can see that. People can see crazy, Dorothy. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
So she didn't have any of that. She was at peace. She was like, this is who I am. This is what I can do for you. And they loved her. So that's a part of the process, is like figuring out what's the truth. And the truth is incontrovertible. Is not judging it. Is like, this is what it is. Oh, okay. Or another thing, a lot of women who grew up being the babysitter of their siblings, like the older kid who was the babysitter of their siblings, they typically go into HR. HR, because now you're babysitter of adults, and now you're just taking care of adults, and it's triggering. And I'm not saying all, but it's a lot. But you do a lot for other people, and you don't expect money because you babysat for free. Mm-hmm. So you're not really asking for compensation for doing more for other people because you were babysitting for free. You weren't doing that. So it's certain patterns that people have that show up. And once you realize that, you'd be like, let me go ask my money. And companies will pay you what you ask for. But if they don't, it's okay to seek other employment. And a lot of women are loyal to dysfunction. Mm-hmm. We're loyal to organizations, and we get our hearts broken when they let us go. It's because we're loyal, but they were never loyal.
I think we have the mental state of wanting to fix dysfunction too, right? Like we want to be the fixer. We want to,
and we do it to our detriment.
Yeah.
And we start projects in organizations that are our intellectual property, and we leave our intellectual property in that organization, having made them better, and they let us go. Gave your $1 million idea to your company, and you left it, and they made $20 million off of it, and you didn't get anything. We're good for that.
Let's pivot to a little bit of a controversial topic that is being all over social media, which is Vanna and Pat. What should Vanna have done over the years?
Did she ever ask is the question.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to be like, oh, my God, they should have paid her more. I want to know, Vanna, did you ask? Because Pat did. And when I look at Shonda Rhimes, told the lady who plays Meredith on Grey's Anatomy, she asked for a raise, but they made $3 billion off of like that series. ABC made $3 billion off of Shonda Rhimes. They harassed her on some Disney tickets. She said, I quit. She took her talents over to Netflix. But it's like Shonda Rhimes advocated for Meredith because that show was like, I think it's still going.
I think it's still going, yeah. Right? Like 40 years later, like
She's the narrator of it. And so she didn't feel like she was being paid properly. So she asked for a raise and she got it. It's like, if you don't give it to me, it's great. I'm Meredith Grey. I'm going to quit. Like the whole show is based on her. You know, we have to be willing to, when I talk about it, once you know who you are, you start to go date other people. You date other organizations. You go and you see what's out there and see if there's something that you can shift into. And then you come back to the organization and be like, I'm leaving. What do I need? What do we need to do to keep you to keep you? Well, this is what I want. So, but if you go and you're not even aware of what your value is on the outside, and or like one of my clients asked for $10,000 when she was already making $200,000 less than she should have been making. I was so mad. I'm like, we're setting you up to ask for $200,000. You asked for 10, and they told her no because she didn't know what she was doing. She pulled the trigger too fast. Before she was aware, before she was fully confident, before she was like, I'm going to go do something. I was like, and then she got mad that they told her no. And it's almost like being in Fendi and you see, you know, you're a Fendi bag and you mess around and fall in TJ Maxx. Nobody's going to go up to the counter and be like, ma'am, I think there's a $3,000 bag here and it only has $69 on it. They're going to pay $69 and cash and run out of the store and get wheels in the parking lot hoping that they're not found. Right. So women have to stop putting themselves on sale and getting mad that people pay them what they ask for. And here's a common thing, Dorothy, when women get nervous or they get mad, before they even go through the interview process, the companies will ask, what's your expected salary? And women will be like, why they ask me that? I'll be like, why are you going to waste 12 hours with them? They trying to see, do you see yourself as a TJ Maxx bag, or do you see yourself as Hermes? That's all they're trying to get a pulse on before you even have a conversation. So you can't be saying I'm Hermes, which are handcrafted. These bags, like, they appreciate in value. These $200,000-$300,000 bags. Are you going to say you're Hermes? Or are you going to say you're TJ Maxx? And if you're an Hermes bags and you say you're TJ Maxx with a TJ Maxx price, don't get mad when they walk away because they're looking for Hermes. People don't go into Hermes and be like, how much is this bag?
What's the sale? Yeah. What's the sale price on it? Yeah.
Yeah. You're not looking for like the discount price or the clearance rack or what's the alligator that was run over by a car. Run over by a car, you made a bag or two, and you can sell it to them for $50, but you're not looking for that. They're looking for the best. So if women get clear on, in their own minds, this is who I am and this is my value, people will see that and they will pay for it and they will swing the door before you. I mean, we still get clients who are getting raises to this day. One of my clients got a $100,000 raise last week. One got a 7-figure package 3 weeks ago. It's like people are still paying. There's always room in the market for top talent. Always, always, always. I don't care what kind of climate the job market has been in crisis for 3 years. It's been in crisis forever.
Forever. Mm-hmm.
We have to stop buying into the narrative of I just need to play safe and just have a job and then continue to complain that you're being underpaid and can't send your kids to college.
Right. Absolutely true. So inspiring. Before we close, question anybody who's listening, they may be in different stages of their journey. I told you my story about my mentee who is in her 20s, but just a top talent. And for someone like that who's saying, I'm lucky to have this job, or I'm lucky that they picked me. There's that person. And then there's a person who is in the desperation state. What is the one thing they can do today after they listen to this podcast?
Even a rock star who brings tremendous value to an organization is a person who brings tremendous value to an organization, whether they're 29 or they're 45. They should get paid what they for the value that they're making to the organization. And it's up to you to put a proper price tag on that. Does that make sense? Like if I got somebody who's like, I want to make $200,000 and this is what I could do for you, or you can ask for 100, but you could have gotten 200. Is like ask for what your value is, and that's a part of the process of getting comfortable and of articulating what you bring to the table. So that's one for the young rock star. Get comfortable in your value, no matter how young you are. It's not about your age; it's your value and your output. Because if she's 20, 20, 29, rocking like that. She's been working for a long time, before she got into this job. She's been working that hard since she was probably 10, 11, 12. And this is just the compound effect of 29 being a young rock star. For the woman who is, desperate and slowing down is, do I have to do all of this? Do I have to? Times the women who are tired, Dorothy, we're giving people what we didn't have. I didn't have that mentor when I was younger. So that's why I was mentoring all of these people. I didn't have that support as a young Black woman coming up into my organization. So I was who I was missing. I didn't have to do all of that. And then I'm volunteering in the community, and I'm on the DEI committee, and I'm doing all these volunteer things. I didn't have to do all of that. That led to my mental and physical demise, because I was a 14 tight. My clothes was tight. Okay. Because I didn't have time to work out. So can I take a season of separation and start telling people no and take care of myself? We need to work out for 3 times a week for 30 minutes a day. We need to sit in silence for 5 minutes 3 times a week and meditate and be able to make yourself a priority, get your mental and physical health in order, because a lot of women are dying in jobs from preventable conditions because we're literally working ourselves to death. I almost died twice working myself to death. That was crazy. And I look back now and it's not even funny. It's like, what were you thinking while I was locked in? I was locked in and I had to make it happen. And it was insane. We don't have to do all of that.
Yeah. Very, very true, right? And I think based on all of the verbiage or popular culture, people are starting to not hear it anymore. But mindset and taking care of yourself and like putting your oxygen mask on first, people have become desensitized to it. But it's so important to really believe it in your bones.
Well, it's people becoming desensitized to it, but then everybody's talking about this mental health crisis. You have doctors now that are diagnosing women who are just tired with, this lady told me she had bipolar A. I was like, what is that? Like, you're not bipolar. You're just pretending to be somebody at work that you're not. That's not true. Right? She was like, you're right. Now we have this rise in high functioning anxiety, high functioning depression, adult autism, adult ADHD. So now we have these things that people are starting to label women who are just tired and won't give themselves permission to rest.
Yeah. Nobody
is going to give a high achieving woman or a woman in general permission to rest and take care of themselves. And even moms, busy moms, my clients are moms, like once they start to draw boundaries of what they will and will not do, people in the house fall in line.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, that's the thing. Like if, the money will come, like you said, if we get our priorities right, if we take care of ourselves and if we define who it is that we are.
Yeah. What's the point of getting a raise if this level right here is burying you, the next level will kill you, prayer to not.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not the job is the problem. It's how you're showing up at work is the problem. How you're showing up at work, proving everybody wrong and working 3 times as hard and mentoring and volunteering for all these things. The job is not the problem. You overworking and over delivering and over committing and being loyal to dysfunction is the problem.
Absolutely.
And they're going to let you do it. And they will sit back and let you do all the work and they will take all the credit. And if it's been like that for 5 years, they're not the problem. It's you.
Yeah. Very true. Well, Christy, thank you so much. We covered a lot of topics, but it's just such a pleasure to hear you give us your insights.
Thank you so much, Dorothy. This was fun. This was definitely.
Yeah.
Did I tell you that this was going to be a treat? I was so thrilled to hear about Christy's journey and all of the hurdles that she overcame to get to the position that she's here today. We are fortunate to have her as a mentor, advisor, and cheerleader. Certainly wish her the very best. We look forward to having Christy back in our studio so we can get more wisdom from this very talented leader. I got a lot of good nuggets to implement in my own career journey, and I hope you did the same. Make sure and grab the free negotiations training at DorothyMashburn.com/fight for your worth. Thank you for listening, and bye for now.